Hopefully you found out a little bit about who's your best friend. Some of you stuck out and were really like, yeah, I know my friend perfectly. Some of you maybe didn't do so good. But before we jump right in, we're gonna kick it off with Make It Personal, our kind of 0.5 block. So 2 different icebreaker type questions are gonna pop up on the screen. In your group, you can just go ahead and decide which of the 2 to answer. Even if one person wants to answer one and the person wants to answer the other, that's fine. So go ahead, I'll come up on the screen, pick one of the 2, answer it, and then go ahead and play the video for Make It Fun. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about the friends in your circle just now. But I want to ask, what is something you're great at? I have been great at a few different things throughout my time. And when I was young, elementary school, early middle school, I was really good at whitewater kayaking. Going down rapids, doing some tricks, different things like that. In fact, here's a photo of probably the best day ever. You see this little photo, I'm the one in the little yellow boat, and the one in the green boat, or in one of the green boats, that's an individual named called Steve Fisher. Steve Fisher has been one of the best kayakers ever. So a friend of ours, the person in the other boat, I'm not sure if they're exactly going to be up on the screen, but that was other individual, Natalie. She was getting ready to train for the Whitewater Grand Prix. She was staying with us from Washington State for a few days while she was getting ready to fly down to Brazil for the competition. And she wanted to train at this place called Great Falls. Maybe you've been there near DC. So we went down. I was just planning on taking photos, being out there on the island and just watching. And we show up, and Steve Fisher happens to know my mom through my brother. There's another world-class kayaker, certainly better than me. And we show up, and he sees my mom. He's like, "Hey, Miss Sheila, Miss Chappelle, is your son gonna join us today?" And I wasn't planning on going out, but he said, "No, I'll take point. I'll safety boat." At this time, all of us were sponsored by the same company for kayaking. He said, "No, I'll take good care of him. He can just follow me." My mom agrees, and I get to go and spend all day kayaking this waterfall with some of the best kayakers in the world. I believe still to this day, I'm the youngest person to have ever gotten to kayak this particular waterfall, and it was such an amazing day. And that's a really weird story, kind of an abstract story. But I imagine you can think, what is something you're great at? What's a great memory you have? And I suspect, if you really think about it, the times in your life that have felt the best, when you've had the best thing happen, often a common thing is there's other people there. In my story, I had some friends and I had some new people, and I created a great environment. Many of your best moments are when other people are there as well. So go ahead, before we go in, and make it clear and answer this question with your group. Everyone share about a moment in life when life felt really good. So share about a moment in your life when life felt really good. And see, there's a common thing of people coming together. Share about a time in your life when life felt really good. If you've been around church much at all, you've probably heard a good bit. Hopefully you've heard a good bit about Jesus and what Jesus did on earth. Jesus taught, Jesus led, Jesus created this upside down kingdom. He took what everyone else was doing. He did something different. Jesus, because of that, got put to death. And then Jesus rose again from the dead, and he gave permission or authority to all of his disciples to go and to live and to teach others, to show others what it looks like to follow Jesus. But all of that happens in just about 3 years, yet Jesus lives far longer than that. He didn't live for a super long time on earth, but he certainly lived longer than 3 years. And even in those 3 years, you have the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that show Jesus his teachings and his life. But there's a lot that it doesn't show. There's a lot of life that he spent. growing up, there's ways we can look at Jesus' life there, but even once Jesus had his disciples and he was teaching and leading, he spent far more time with his core group, his 12, and some others that came along with him every day. And I imagine with them, they just spent a lot of life together. I'm in a room right now with some camping stuff. We have a little barrel full of some rope and a little archery tower here, a little backpack, and some a sleeping pad and a couple other random things. And I'm in here because I imagine that Jesus spent a lot of time camping, hiking, walking. He certainly didn't have something quite as nice as this, but they spent a lot of time going places. Imagine they spent a lot of time talking, a lot of times laughing, a lot of times sharing humor, a lot of times just doing life together, caring for those that were needed, but just growing and developing together as one group. Jesus invested so much more into that core group of friends than he did anyone else. And it's because of the investment that he had with that group that I believe we can see the church spread. In fact, Jesus comes and he says, "Go, I give you all my authority, therefore you go and you make disciples." The passage we talked about in Matthew in the beginning of Acts. And then in Acts 2:44, here at Lifehouse, this is kind of our theme verse. The verse that we build everything we do on a Sunday, on a Thursday, and every aspect. It comes from this verse. A verse of what it looks like to be a good friend, to care for other people well. A verse that says in Acts 2:44-47, and all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. They worshiped together at the temple each day and met in homes for the Lord's Supper and shared their meals with great joy and generosity. All the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. You see, while Jesus was no longer there, they are doing the exact same thing Jesus showed them to do. Every day they're gathering together. Every day they're coming together, they're sharing, they're showing, they're pointing people to Jesus. They're being incredibly generous with their physical things and with their time. They are knowing God. Through worship and generosity, they are finding family through spending time together intentionally and creatively. And they are making a difference by meeting the needs of those that are around them. That is the exact purpose and goal each one of us has. To be the kind of friend that helps people know God, find family, and make a difference. That can experience that for ourselves because of the impact of somebody else. They weren't just having fun together, but they were doing good together. They were giving and serving together. When I read this, I imagine a scene where there's a little bit less need because everyone is meeting a need. There's probably a little bit less anxiety, a little bit less pressure because there's this collection of everyone meeting a need. And yes, I understand that we can't do all of this today. Certainly, some of you don't have jobs or ways or means of having be able to meet physical needs. Certainly, because of sports and transportation and other things, it's hard to meet together every day in person to share meals. But we have devices where we can connect with each other through a group chat, through an encouraging text or an encouraging word. We have the ability to resource people with other resources, to speak kindly into other people, to meet needs with what we do have, and when possible, with our finances. We can still be a good friend in the way that we see in Acts 2. In fact, I believe that we were made to have good friends. That you were made to have good friends, to be a good friend. And not just a friend who knows a lot about you, who encourages you and says what you want, but a friend who's going to encourage you, challenge you, and help you get where you want to be. So what does a good friend really look like? What does it really look like to have a good friend? Not just somebody who's fun or interesting or cool, but somebody who's going to really help take you to where you want to go. Someone who's going to improve you, challenge you, and encourage you in the right way. Somebody like Jesus, who is coming along with you and walking you through a whole journey, taking you from where you were to where you could be, who sees the potential in you, and what would it look like for you to begin to live it out and then show it to other people. So we're going to go ahead into our Make It Clear discussion block. And during this, we're going to have sticky notes. Those are those little bags that are on each of your tables. And together, you're going to brainstorm what are the traits or the characteristics of a good friend. Just write them all out. And then when you write them all out, place them together, talk about what they are together as a group, and then ask the questions, do you think it's easy or difficult to have good friends? And why do you think God designed us to need friends? Man, I think it's a powerful question. Why are we designed to need relationship? What would be different if we didn't accept it? When we tap into the good relationships, good friends, is our life a little bit different? So go ahead, do the sticky notes, talk about those, brainstorm together, and then ask the 2 questions. And then once you're done, somebody will play the video, and we'll jump in to our final section, Make It Happen. Okay, before we jump in to Make It Happen, I want, if you haven't already done this, to go ahead and pause the video again, just very briefly, and share some of the stuff you wrote on the sticky notes with the other groups that are around there. And I'll just share everything, but share maybe 2 or 3 highlights from the sticky notes and the things that you brainstormed together with the other groups that are in the room, and then jump right back on, and we'll finish it out with Make It Happen. Hopefully you had some really good conversation. What is the characteristics? What are the traits of a good friend? Hopefully many of you had a different perspective, because yes, there's things that are always the same, but each one of you is going to have a unique and significant lens, which is also important and worth noting. Once we know what a good friend looks like, it's important that we begin to do things with good friends. That we don't just know who they are, but then that we begin to actually apply it practically. We can make it happen. So with that, there's 3 things that I want us to acknowledge or think about when it comes to a good friend. First, good friends help you go closer to God. A good friend helps you go closer to God. This is important because we can find Christ by ourselves. We can read the Bible, we can watch some things, we can engage, and we can find Jesus alone. But when we are around a campfire, this could be a real campfire or made up one, when we're working together on different things, when we're doing life with somebody and Jesus is a part of that, we're going to grow closer. When people challenge what we believe or what we know in a good way, we're going to get closer. When we read the Bible together, there's accountability, we're going to get closer. When we pray out loud with words, we're going to get closer. When we share our faith and share our story and what God's doing in our life, we're going to get closer. When you engage with the Bible at school, FCA, Young Life, CIA, Youth for Christ, or Jesus Club, something that you start through the campus missionary training that we've been talking about with Youth Alive, you're going to get closer to God. You draw closer to God when you have good friends. We are designed for a relationship. God created us for a relationship. When he said, let us create man in our image, he's saying, I am already community, and I want the people that follow me, I want everyone to be in community, to draw closer to him in community. When you have a good friend, you draw closer to God. Secondly, good friends do good for the world together. It says in Acts 2 that they met every need. Now, certainly you can't serve and do everything. That would be impossible or unrealistic. But what can you do? I mean, how can you serve? How can you serve here on a Thursday? You help them with a game, you help them set up. Would love to see worship or other areas, media, engaging in that way. That's the way it's serving within the church. But how can you go beyond that? I know we've been at network ministries or other areas up there, or the serve days that happen, or the Dream Center here in Hagerstown. What are the things that you could do to practically serve and meet the needs of the world? Starting in your school. What are some things? That's the whole idea behind Youth Alive, is what is a need in your school and what can you do to meet the need? And if you're like, man, I think the campus missionary idea is cool, but I have no idea where to start. That is where you start. Identify what is the need in my school, and is there something I can do about it? And if you can identify a need and think about something you can do about it, tell your leader they can get you the Youth Alive information from me, or they can get it to you with me and I can get it to you. That is where that's the whole starting point. Is friends. You can do it by yourself, but man, if you get one other person, you identify a need in your school or in homeschool. It doesn't apply. It's not only for those in school, but what is a real need? And then what's something I can do about it? You can begin to change the world when you identify one need and one thing you can do about it. You can change the world. One need, one thing you can do about it. Good friends do good for the world together. And then finally, good friends help show God's love to others. Good friends help show God's love to others. Well, it certainly is totally paired. If you're doing good in a need of a school, you're showing God's love through meeting a need. But this also means that you and somebody are going to encourage people in ways they haven't been encouraged before. It means you're going to share your story or learn how to share your story better together. It means you're going to go out of your way to live life in a way that points to Jesus, and you're going to do that with other people. You can truly change your sphere. You talk about Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth when you do this. When you start just small, one need, one area, do that with a friend, you're going to change the world, and you're going to draw people close to God. Man, if you never had a friend that's encouraged you to draw close to God, and you say, I'm the one that wants it, you can experience that today. That Jesus loves you and cares for you and wants to be in relationship with you. And you can say that today. And if you're saying that for the first time today, man, tell your leader. We would love to just encourage you and cheer you on and help you begin to walk this journey. But for all of us, we got one more circle block. You're going to do an exercise with a poster board and begin to just outline some ideas of what does it look like to be a good friend, to walk out friendship, and then to apply it in different areas. So all those supplies are there for you. Have a good conversation. Begin to unpack. How can this really, truly apply in every area of your life?